Good evening, universe. Tonight I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in June. So I started off with some manga. I read the last 4 volumes, or the second half of Bloom Into You by Nakatani Neo, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it more and more as the series continued, and I absolutely loved the ending, the arcs of all the characters. Obviously, I can't get into too much of what happens because that would be spoilers, and I don't really like to do spoilers for these wrap-up videos. But the premise of Bloom Into You is basically that there's a teenager who has never fallen in love and considers herself kind of a strange case because of that. And then she meets another girl who has experienced the same thing, where she has never developed feelings for somebody else romantically. And so it is about the relationship that the two have as they grow closer and get to know each other better. And we delve into backstories, and it's really just wonderful. It does have some heavy topics that are dealt with, but I think it's done quite well, and I really enjoyed it. There are some quotes from characters, some sort of musings on the idea of love and what it means to love somebody that I really enjoyed in this series. Plus, a lot of the romance energy is just really cute, and I absolutely adored this. It's a quick read too, so I highly recommend. Next, I read The Sun and the Star by Riordan and Oshiro. This was one of my more anticipated reads for the year. I was super excited for this release because it features Nico, who is a son of Hades. This takes place in the Percy Jackson universe, and it centers on, like I said, Nico. Nico is one of my favorite characters. I love his story thus far. It also features him traveling through the underworld with Will Solus, a son of Apollo, and I absolutely adored this. I loved the discussions that the two had with each other. The relationship that they had over the course of the book I thought was really interesting and engaging, and I really enjoyed it. It was cool to see this book sort of tie up some loose ends that were left unaddressed from earlier Percy Jackson books, things that were kind of left open. So I really enjoyed that. It's a great adventure following fantastic characters, and as usual with the Percy Jackson books, it was just a really fun, funny time. I was a little bit nervous that it would feel stiff with 2 authors, because sometimes, in my opinion, that happens with 2 authors. Some of the magic of the single author that I'm used to kind of gets lost. So I was a little bit nervous that it would feel very different. And there is kind of a newness that sets it apart from the other books set in the Percy Jackson universe. It does feel distinct, but not in a way that feels unfamiliar. So it feels new and fresh, but also familiar and like it belongs with the other books. And so I really enjoyed this. Next, I read Lore Olympus Volume 4. This just came out, and I've been reading each volume as it arrives because I really love this series. As usual, this series is just compulsively readable. The art is gorgeous. I say that with every new volume that comes out, but it is. It's beautiful and distinct and different, and I really enjoy it. In this volume, we get introduced to a couple more gods. We get a little bit more backstory. We get some good moments between some of the characters, some good sort of romantic tension going on. And I really enjoyed that. I can't wait for the next one. I feel like this is going to be a short video because I'm trying to be very careful with spoilers and things that could be spoilers, but I hope you can still kind of get a sense of the book. Everything is sequels this month, which makes it hard to talk about things, but the next book that I read was One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. Last year, around this same time period, I started reading a bunch of young adult thrillers, and I had a really good time with that. And then I kind of burnt myself out, and I stopped reading young adult thrillers, and now I'm ready to read them again. So I picked this one up, finally, to check out the sequel to One of Us Is Lying. And I really enjoyed this. This was a great reading month. I think I loved everything that I read, which is fantastic. So even though I didn't do quite as much reading as I wanted to, I think it was a really good month overall. So this book in particular, like I said, it's the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, but it follows 3 new characters. It follows Maeve, who is the younger sister of Bronwyn in the first book, and then 2 characters who are only like barely related to the first characters, through several degrees of separation. But those characters are Knox and Phoebe. So we have Maeve, Knox, and Phoebe, and these three are at the center of a new mystery that strikes at Bayview High School. I liked the characters in this a lot. One thing that I really enjoyed from the first book was all the characters. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't pick this up sooner, was because it's like, okay, we're not going to be following the Bayview 4, so I'm less interested. But several characters from the first book do still make appearances in this book, which was fantastic. It made it a little bit more engaging. And I really loved all of these characters in their own right. I thought Maeve would be my favorite, but actually I think my favorite was probably Phoebe. So the mystery is basically that somebody is sending like a truth or dare game to everybody at the school. The idea is that if you don't take the dare, then this person will reveal a truth about you. And the truth is something that you do not want to have shared. And whoever's doing this has definite copycat vibes from the situation in the first book. So this was fantastic. It had a really fast pace. The mystery was great. I felt the conclusion made sense, and I kind of saw some things coming, which makes it fun, like when you guess what's going on, and then it's close to the climax, you figure it out, and you're like, oh, I've got some pieces, but some pieces are still up in the air. So it came together neatly and in ways that made sense to me, and I really enjoyed it. I am definitely feeling like I'm in a YA thriller mood again, and I'm planning to pick up another Karen M. McManus book. I think the next one that I wanted to read is called Nothing More to Tell. I'm excited to check that one out. I also liked her other book, Two Can Keep a Secret. Wasn't really a fan of the cousins. I DNF'd that one, but so far these other three have been really good, and I'm excited to check out more of her books. I also started on The Song of Achilles. I'm only 100 pages in though. I am really loving it so far, and I'm excited to talk to you more about it next month when I have it finished. But that was everything I read in the month of June. This was kind of a short one because everything is sequels, and I don't want to give too much away about the previous installments of the series, but I appreciate you hanging out with me anyway. Hopefully this sheds some light on these sequels if you haven't picked them up yet. I hope you had a really good reading month in June as well. And most importantly, have a great night, universe.